You know, when life forces you to slow down, you know, occasionally like this when you get sick and you have a lot of time on your hands, spend a lot of time in bed or the couch, you kind of realize how long a day is, uh, and how much I usually cram into a day, you know. Um, it makes me think, for people that don't have many goals in life or are not busy or are not chasing something, I feel like they're wasting their life in a way. Now, that was kind of the initial thought that I had. It's like, my God, like I'm so bored laying on this couch, laying in bed non-stop for the last 3 days, basically bedridden. And I can't stop thinking about that. Like, what do people do, man? You know, I'm sure there's people out there that are much busier than me, but there's also a lot of people that think they're busy, but they're not busy. And then the next thought was, as often is with my thoughts, why do I have to measure how productive we are by our physical actions? You know, how many things we accomplish in a day. If you think about some of the philosophers of history, they would literally spend a lot of time sitting around debating, talking about life, virtues, talking about how to think about life after death, that kind of thing. They would just literally spend all their life debating and comparing and contrasting ideas. Physically, I don't think they do much, they just talk. It's just interesting how we can get stuck into this mind frame, like I started this thought off with. It's like I haven't done anything physically. And growing up in a family that's, you know, Yugoslav family, very much the currency of respect is, you know, how much backbreaking work you did. You know, no one values or they value less the intellectual workload, let's say. It's just interesting how you might kind of approach life and how guilty you might feel simply by having a certain mindset. Because you could argue that the amount of work I've done in the last 3 days has been more than usual in terms of the mental. Because a lot of times, man, when you're running around doing your normal stuff, like going to work and coming in and training, yeah, your mind is going as well, but it's not going as much as it is when you're simply have deactivated your body. So all of your energy is above the neck. Your body's sick. It's not doing anything. It's laying there. And so all of the expenditure goes to the brain and you do a lot of thinking. But it's funny how at the end of all of that, you know, I've come back and I've kind of started to feel guilty how little I've achieved. But yet I've thought about lots and lots of different things in depth. It's often the pauses in life like this that you kind of stop and you look around, you're like, damn, you know, this is what's happening. It's weird, man. Like, I always go back to this one idea. When I first became a father, you know, almost 7 years ago, you know, had our son, you know, and it was a time warp, the whole pregnancy, lots of stuff happening. I guess lots of stress, and then the childbirth, and then basically not even 10 hours later, there's a full house of guests and family, and we're celebrating, and then, you know, the schedule of looking after a newborn is full on as well. And it wasn't until, like, dare I say, like 6 months that I kind of stopped and I had a moment to myself and I went, holy shit, dude, I'm a dad, man. I am a father. I'm 27 and I'm a dad. I don't think we I don't think I value enough the work of the brain and how valuable that alone is without the body doing anything, just sitting there. I'm sure some of you guys have heard this before, but the most depressed people are the people who have a high IQ, intellectuals, academics who spend a lot of time on their butts, sitting there, writing, reading. They have a lot of time to think. And, you know, there's a lot of time to assess every angle, and a large portion, you know, they have a high risk of depression. And so when you look at it like that, you're like, damn, the work of the mind is much harder than the work of the body. Because the work of the body, it gives you dopamine releases, gives you all these freaking natural steroids, man. You walk around like a baboon in your garage with your lats spread and you're feeling great about yourself. But the work of the mind, I mean, I'm not somebody that's, you know, I'm sure there's other people out there who are much more intellectual than me and spend a lot of time thinking about every angle of life, but I don't think I do enough of that. And this whole Squat Everyday journey has really put all of my eggs in one basket, and that's the physical basket. I'm very, very physical in my life. Very physical. It's almost like I don't have time to think. And the little time that I have to think, I'm battling with my own ideas about the physical portion of my life. You know, what exercise, what's the biomechanics related to this? How do I address this? It's almost like living life in the fast lane, which is probably good for mental health, because I've always said to you guys that there's a lot of value I find in that. Keeping the body busy makes the mind healthy. It's just interesting. It's interesting when you slow down and you pull over off that highway, get off that fast lane, and you sit there and you look around, and sometimes it's almost a blessing to actually stop. You know, they call it the rat race. It's just a freaking hamster wheel, man. You're not really getting anywhere. You're not getting anywhere. The whole thing is just intellectual exercise, really. Mental exercise on how you perceive things. And I think these thoughts originate from, you know, my bringing. Like I said, you know, my grandfather, my grandparents in general, my parents, very hardworking people, man. Very hardworking people. Always on the go, always doing stuff. You know, my mother, man, that lady can never sit down. You understand? Like, when she's sick with fever, she's up there in the kitchen cooking up a feast. You know what I mean? And having the kids come over and pick up the food and take it home. She cannot sit still, man. But she's a product of a different generation, man. Think about her parents in the house that she grew up in. You know, the lessons that she would have had. Think about the wars in the past and how that affected the following generations. And so work was measured purely as a physical. You know, if you live in that type of environment and you're sitting in a corner thinking and pretending to be Aristotle, Socrates, Plato, somebody will whack you over the head. Get off your ass, man. Go into the fields and feed those animals and, you know, harvest those fields. So there's always like this thing that I battle mentally. It's like, damn, man, I've done nothing in the last 3 days, man. I've done nothing. And there's like frustration with my body. Like, what have I done wrong? Where did I not sleep enough? Did I not eat enough? Did I push too hard in the thing? Did I not wear my mask properly at work? Did I, you know, tracking back all the patients that I saw, lots of infectious people, like, you know, like all these thoughts, like you have a lot of time on your hands, man. 3 days, man. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, entire days in bed. Freaking go crazy, man. And with the absence of that physical release that I've had for 13 freaking 100 days, you start to feel weird, man. Like yesterday I mentioned how my body started to ache. I don't know why my freaking traps are killing me still, man. I don't know whether it's some delayed freaking DOMs from 5 years ago, or I don't know what it is, man, but my shoulders, my lower back, my adductors, everything's freaking sore. But the moment I get out of the bar here and do something, I feel kind of like, oh my God, it's like scratching an itch. Anyway. I say all of this to say that being idle seems to be harder than being active. Because the moment you stop, your body, this goes in overdrive. It's an interesting thing. It's an interesting thing. Anyway, let me try this weight. Let's stretch. Let's try and get some sort of physical work. Appreciate you guys. I'll catch you in the next one. Not that I've been sick, I've been forgetting how I end these videos. Usually I say cheers, so cheers.